Hello, friends. Welcome to Office Hours with Dr. K. Today, we're going to talk about finding your flow in music practice and performance. It seems like everywhere I look now, people are talking about flow. And I'm not an expert, but I've certainly experienced flow. And we talked about flow last week as well. Last week, we talked about finding flow through journaling, and I talked about morning pages and why I think I have experienced flow in that kind of journaling. It takes a little bit of time to get there, and you have to have some conditions sort of set in place. But I think it's possible, and I certainly achieve flow sometimes, not all the time, in journaling. But I also have achieved it often, not regularly, but more than a whole bunch of times in performing and also in practicing. So I think this is one of the things that keeps musicians getting back on the stage, because performing is stressful. But we love it, or we wouldn't do it. But in those moments when we can find flow on stage, there's really nothing like it. So this is what I want to talk about today: finding your flow in music practice and performance. So again, as always, I have my blog post up, theessentialmusician.ca. You'll find all my blog posts there, and while you're there, it's a little bit tangential, but kind of not, because I have a freebie download available for you to help you tackle bedtime procrastination. So if you're a creative night person, you may find that you stay up a little bit too late, maybe trying to find your flow in practicing, and sometimes that affects our ability to do your adulting in the morning. So if you are having some trouble managing that, have a look at the download while you're over there. Okay, finding your flow in practice, music practice and performance. What is this flow? The term is generally attributed to psychologist, this is a hard one, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. There's lots of consonants, and so I'm hoping that I pronounced it correctly. He has many books and articles on the subject, and his idea is so well known now that it has become a commonly used term. It's become a household term. And simply put, it's a state of deep focus in which you feel at ease with the task at hand. And you sort of lose track of time. You just kind of lose yourself in the experience of the thing, and you just kind of do the thing. It's pretty cool. Performers, you know what I'm talking about. And if we're lucky, we have experienced flow state in performance at least once during our careers. And I think, like I said, I think it's one of the main reasons that performers, that we do what we do, because it's really just this most incredible feeling. And I think if you're suffering from performance anxiety, if you have the opportunity to experience flow, it's kind of one of those things where, you know what, in a lot of cases, the experience of flow kind of overrides all the performance anxiety. It's kind of crazy. It's really powerful. But you can also find flow when you're practicing. And there are many amateur musicians who enjoy playing an instrument for pleasure, not for money like us professionals. And perhaps some of you talented amateur musicians find flow in your practicing too. Is this why we practice? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. But some of us practice so we can attain flow on stage, or at least to minimize public embarrassment. If you're not a musician or a performer, I hope that you can pull out some meaningful content from this post in this video to suit your purposes. Maybe you're a runner. I'm a dabbler with running. I'm not a great runner, and I definitely don't find my flow in running, but a lot of people do. A lot of people talk about it. Or maybe you're an avid knitter, and you find yourself halfway through a sweater or something before you realize the time has passed. There's all kinds of ways that we find flow. It's the flow state is definitely something that's worth finding, however that might manifest for you. And this post and this video specifically for the musicians, but many ideas here are transferable to other musicians too. So flow, I almost said slow. Flow in performance. What does it feel like? For those of you who don't know my musical background, I have a doctorate degree in piano performance, and I teach university students how to become the best performers they can be. And to have a career in teaching others to be performers, you have to do some performing yourself, right? So as a pianist, I've had the opportunity to experience performing with small groups of people, chamber ensembles, solo, which is just me and a piano and no music usually, and in large groups, symphony orchestras, wind ensembles, those kinds of things. Sometimes I play with the music in front of me, and sometimes, especially when I perform solo, it's all from memory. And there are different ways to prepare for each of these different performing scenarios, and each performing situation demands a certain specific set of skills. So you know you've achieved flow in performance when you walk off stage feeling euphoric. You don't remember exactly what happened, but you know that you felt that electric connection with the audience. This is something that we performers who have been on online platforms in the past year and a half, we've really missed this. This is hard on us. We've really missed this. Some of us do the performing, if you're performing with others, maybe you felt flow and it's manifested in feeling that connection with your other performers where you felt like you're just one breathing musical unit, that you're this, magical being that has, 4 separate bodies that are all sort of mentally connected. It's kind of that feeling too when you're playing with others and you experience flow. It's that post-performance euphoria that keeps many of us coming back. Yes, some of us do it to cover the bills, and some of us do it just because we love music. But you can also love music and not put yourself through the stress of performance. It is a rare privilege to experience flow in performance. And it definitely doesn't always happen. So, what are some of the things to think about? When you're performing from memory, memorized solo performing solo, I think, for me anyway, is the most stressful kind of performing, because you don't have your music there as a security blanket. It's just you and a piano and you go for a long time. But conversely, sometimes the absence of music allows you to get into flow faster because you don't have that visual distraction. You're not actively reading, you know your music so well, it's all internalized and you can just go. The other side though is also true, because if you don't have that music there to anchor you, then your inner critic starts to come in. There's all kinds of things you think about when you're on stage, right? And sometimes that inner critic just kind of shows up and things start to happen that you weren't expecting. But obviously the best way to be sure that you can attain flow in performing and to have a successful performance when performing from memory is making sure that you're as prepared as you possibly can be. And this is not a newsflash. And the more prepared you are, the more likely you are to enjoy the performance itself. However, it's easier said than done. And how does one adequately prepare for memory retrieval? Well, one of the magical things about performance, and I just talked about this, is unexpected things happen in performance, and a lot of it has to do sometimes with memory, and that's what's lost in recorded engineered performance, is that element of potential danger. And that's sort of that scintillating energy where you're just a little bit, it's an element of danger in it that you don't get, that gets engineered out. Professional performers, you don't need me to tell you how to prepare for your performances. You know how to do this, and we all have our own ways, but I would like to just talk about one of my favorite ways to manage the inner critic and help you get into flow, which is through imagery. And I use this with my students all the time. When we have the privilege of working with students, we have the opportunity to really dive in and dissect what works for us so that we can then turn around and teach the students. And one of the most effective ways I've been able to help student performers with inner critic control is by employing imagery. And it's more than simply just thinking about an image while we play. And I do these imagery workshops in my master classes all the time, where I say, okay, who are the people? What is the time of day? Is it a boy and a girl and a dog? What color is the dog? What does the dog talk? What season is it? Are they outside or are they inside? What are they doing? What are they wearing? These kinds of things. So you get the picture. And it's important also when doing imagery that you include activity, because that can set the pace and the tempo, the character, the articulations, the dynamic changes, all of those things. And if you include emotional responses of the characters in your little movie, then it can also affect these changes. So it's kind of like playing with a silent movie, only you have actually the power to affect the change of the characters, rather than, a typical silent movie where the movie is already set and you just play along. In this kind of mental silent movie, how you play affects what the characters do. It's kind of cool. So it's really fun to practice this way and to perform this way. And it has the added bonus of keeping your inner critic out of your hands so that you can give it something to do while you're getting your character to do things. There's no time for the inner critic. It works really well. And the fact that it can manage interpretive challenges is like a bonus, right? So give that little voice in your head something to do so that the hands can do their work. Because it's that inner critic that tends to pull the rug out from under us when we're on stage. You can also find flow in music practice. So this is one of the things to do there is to keep your daily distractions out of your practicing. And this is interesting because the more I dive into the world of administrative productivity, which I post about most of the time now, the more I realize how powerful that is for being better at practicing and for increasing my chances of getting into flow and practicing. And what I mean is this: when you have control over your inbox and you have a clear task management system in place and you know that your schedule is under control, then you can concentrate more fully on the thing you are sitting down to do. So this is one of the reasons I love to practice at night. My favorite time to practice is between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. I'm a total night owl. I'm not doing that much these days because I do have my rock solid morning routine now. But given my preference, I would be up practicing till 1 without question, because it's quiet and people don't expect you to be available answering emails or whatever. That time is just for you. But even then, sometimes you might find that your mind is pulled into other administrative daily tasks. So if that's the case, if you don't have all of that other daily stuff sort of tied together with a little bow, at the end of the day or whenever you sit down to do your creative work, then you're going to find that that's going to get in the way. So get your inbox under control. I actually have a whole post on this. What did I say? Manage your inbox, I should have called it Manage Your Inbox, Manage Your Beethoven Sonata, but whatever. Most people wouldn't get the joke. So another thing that's really cool in making the most of your practice time and finding flow is aromatic linking. This blew my mind this first time this happened, and this is how I got into doing essential oils in the first place. Here's a story. When I started using oils, I wanted to see if they could do anything for my music making. I had planned to create an aromatic link between practicing and performing to increase the ease of memory recall on stage. There has been a lot of research on this, so I knew it would work, right? So when you, this is also why we have dress rehearsals before a performance, when you can most closely recreate the conditions of performance before the actual performance, then, like if you have the chance to be in the room and in the clothes and in the piano and the shoes and whatever, then you'll have a much higher likelihood of concrete recall. And the fact that aromas are stored or are recalled in the limbic system of the brain where memory is held. Memory and aromas are processed in the same place in the brain. So that link is really, really strong. So, and it works very well. So basically use the same aroma when you're practicing, and then when you go on stage, it's going to help your recall. It totally works, by the way. But what I wasn't expecting was that it worked like crazy on practicing. I wasn't expecting that. That was a total surprise, and I got totally hooked on oils after that happened. So, and I wrote one of my very first ever blog posts was about that. What did I call it? Essential Oils for Memory. In that post, I talk about the very first time that this happened. So I had my signature blend, which I have here. I had this beautiful thing with crystals in it. My friend gave me that. It's almost empty. This is how much I use this blend. Okay, I use it all the time. I had my signature blend, frankincense, rosemary, peppermint, wild orange, and I put it together. Rosemary's in there because it smells so good. It's supposed to be good for memory. I don't know, but whatever. I'll just try it. It's not going to make anything worse. So then I put it on my temples and the back of the neck. These are apparently places that you stick oils when you want to focus and concentrate. And then I don't know why I stick it on my forearms. Oh, it just smells really good. And I thought, well, that smells good. It's not going to do anything, whatever. And I went to sit down to practice, and nothing happened for 15 minutes, and then something clicked. And I always I do Pomodoro method. I always go 25 minutes, and then I stop for 5, and then there's a whole blog post on that too. But so 15 minutes. After 15 minutes of checking my watch like every 30 seconds, something clicked. And I got into the flow. 2.5 hours later, I didn't even realize I had to stop because my back hurt. I thought, oh, interesting. Next night, same thing happened. Third night, same thing happened. After 3 times, I'm sorry, that's not a coincidence. So I started giving samples to all my friends, all my performer friends, and they found that helped them too. It was kind of amazing. So I'm onto something there. So if you want to find flow in your practicing, go to my blog post. It's all in there. But the really great oil for managing distractions on stage is frankincense, and I will never go on stage without frankincense ever again. Frankincense apparently is a great oil for meditation, and now I understand why. Frankincense, when I'm using frankincense when I'm on stage and my blend has frankincense in it, I find that I'm able to notice distractions without becoming distracted by them. So when you're on stage or when you're practicing, but when you're on stage and you hear the person in the, if we remember what that feels like, if we hear the guy in the back with the jingling keys or the program that falls to the floor, the cellophane wrapper or whatever, those things can sometimes completely derail your performance, especially if you're memorized. But I find when I'm using frankincense, it's like, oh yeah, there's the guy in the back, that's annoying, whatever, and I just keep going. It doesn't bother me. It's kind of amazing. So there are also a number of oils that help with performance anxiety, but a lot of those are really calming, and we don't want that on stage. So I've actually tried some, like the tree oils. I tried a blend called doTERRA Balance on stage, which is great for just calming the heck down. And I got on stage and I couldn't care that I was up there. And that's not how we want to be on stage. We want to have that sort of electric excitement. Frankincense, allows you to have that electric excitement. Must be time to stop. I have a tickle. Without being overly crazy. Okay, I have to cough. I'm going to sign off. It's too long anyway. Okay, thanks for hopping on. Go practice.